We headed north on I-91 into western Massachusetts towards our first destination, the Greenfield area. And aside, for Massachusetts residents, basically everything west of Boston is Western Mass, even though our destinations are all in what would technically be correct in calling Northern Mass. For the purposes of this video, we're calling it Western Mass. So up 91, past Springfield and Northampton on our way to the Greenfield area, there's a couple of fun detours you can make. There's the Yankee Candle Village, if you're into that sort of thing. For me, I just get an ice cream cone and follow my wife around. Even more interesting is the Magic Wings Butterfly Conservatory, which I highly recommend, but we didn't go there on this trip. Another time. We started our day deep in the woods in the town of Montague, home of the one and only Montague Book Mill. The slogan for the book mill is "Books you don't need in a place you can't find," which is pretty much true. We did not see the great John Hodgman on our visit, since he's known to frequent the place, but we did stop at the adjoining cafe, the Lady Killigrew, for a delicious breakfast sandwich and a tea while we waited for the book mill to open. Once open, the book mill is a wonderful maze of old New England architecture filled with all manner of used books. The sci-fi section is not especially large, but I've been here twice so far and came away with something each time. We got Final Diagnosis, one of these Sector General books. I have a couple of these. I'm slowly collecting them. The Android's Dream by John Scalzi. And I got a better copy of Sundiver than the one that I originally had. The one I had was pretty beat in the spine, and this had a really good spine, so I said, you know what? I'm going to upgrade my copy of Sundiver. I hope to read these this year. We then took a scenic ride down winding New England back roads and over the bridge to nearby Turner's Falls to Unnameable Books. The owner, a super nice guy named Adam Tobin, owns the original Unnameable Books in Brooklyn, which I haven't been to yet, but this location is a converted tavern. It's well curated with a mix of used and select new books, and a great bookcase of vintage mass market paperbacks, which I was just like, From that vintage mass market bookcase, I got Martians Go Home by Frederick Brown. This book is a book that I've always wanted just for the cover. It's an iconic cover. It's fantastic. Is the book any good? I don't know. But I will read it at some point, obviously. But just what a great cover. I found another Time Machine book. I'm slowly collecting these. I read these back in middle school, I guess. I feel like I read all of them at some point. But they're not easy to find. Choose Your Own Adventures in general are tough to find in used bookstores because people would reread them and they'd fall apart eventually. So I don't find a ton of these in the wild. So when I do find them, I definitely pick them up. Hopefully someday I'll be able to get them all. And in the non-science fiction department, Glass Key by Dashiell Hammett. I'm trying to read some crime novels, some mysteries. Just trying to expand my style a little bit. Get some other things in the old brain head. You know, from the science fiction section of Unnameable Books, I was able to get All Clear by Connie Willis. It was, again, much like with the Arcade and Martine books, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get the second half of a two-part series. So I was really glad to pick this up, and now I'll be able to do that Connie Willis video that I have on deck. So after Unnameable Books, I highly recommend popping in next door to a store called Loot. I've always been a fan of what I would fondly call junk shops. places stocked with fascinating artifacts of the industrial age of dubious use outside of maybe sculptural collage art. But Loot has upscaled the concept to current year. They've also got stickers and pins and such, and they had a small section of, and you'll never believe this, sci-fi paperbacks from the 60s through the 80s. It's like they knew I was coming. So what did I get from Loot? I got Z for Zechariah by Robert C. O'Brien. This was a book that we read in school, and I remember, I wouldn't say I remembered it fondly, but I definitely remember it. Mostly, I was annoyed when they came out with a film adaptation not too long ago, and I was like, why is there a third person in this story? But, adaptation's going to adapt, right? And I was really excited to find Eyes of Amber by Joan D. Vinci. This is a collection of short stories. And what a great cover, too, right? Look at that. Really looking forward to that. I got to read more short stories. I've been reading a lot of novels, especially for the channel. So I got a bunch of Harlan Ellison books around here somewhere that I have to dig into. So I might eventually do like a whole season of short stories or something. But yeah, really excited for this. Our next stop in this nearby city of Greenfield was Roundabout Books. Yet another example of old New England architecture repurposed for the storage and sale of used books. Roundabout has a good selection of notable new books, but its specialty is in used books. The main floor has an entire room of children's books and sci-fi, graphic novels, and most genres can be found upstairs. Upstairs also houses a room of vintage and antique books. Periodically, they host a media sale in the basement that's primarily VHS and DVDs, and entire gaylords full of unsorted books. Their section of sci-fi books is pretty small, but I still like to stop here anyway, because, when I'm in the area, I might as well. Their staff are always super friendly, and you never know what you might find in other sections of the bookstore, like this is The Art of Star Wars Galaxy, Volume 1, and Volume 2. I had Volume 1, but it was kind of moldy, so now I have Volumes 1 and 2, and they're not moldy. There's a little bit of damage to them. It's like a little bit of water damage at the corner, and I'm kind of okay with that. So this was based on a Topps trading card series that Lucasfilm had licensed in the 90s. They commissioned a lot of the best artists of the time to do, Star Wars art and various either depictions of stuff from the movies or kind of like imaginative ideas of different things. It's pretty cool. I really like it. I've got a decent amount of art books, and this was a set that I was really looking to get. So, really good stuff. Aside from the overall vibes at the book mill, I'm not sure any of these places are worth the trip on their own. But for the sci-fi book lover, the big draw to Greenfield is Federal Street Books. So Federal Street Books requires you to wear a mask inside. And I wish more places did that, because it's a good idea. Ironically, I'm not sure how much there is to say about Federal Street Books. It's a well-curated retail shop, very sci-fi forward, some new but a ton of used. Nice owners doing their best to make it in a post-COVID world. I always do a lot of damage here, and today was no exception. Ridley Walker. This is a book that I've heard a lot about. If you've ever seen Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, it owes a lot to Ridley Walker. This is one of those books that's entirely written in its own language, so you kind of have to parse it a little bit. But I'm really excited for this. This is something I wasn't expecting to find at any point, but glad I did. My wife found another copy of Watership Down. We have an illustrated Watership Down, which is gorgeous. But this is, just a good sized reading book, because like the illustrated book is like, I don't know if it's easy to read because it's kind of big. So this is a nice readable copy. Haven't read the book. We've obviously seen the movie at various points, and we're suitably scarred for life. But at some point, I definitely want to do a movie versus book analysis. Diplomatic Act by Peter Jurasik. This is the book co-written by the guy who plays Londo on Babylon 5.
Mr. Garibaldi, whatever it is, it can't be that bad.
So this book came out before Galaxy Quest. All right. So the premise of this book is, what if Peter Jurasik was Galaxy Quested by some aliens that thought that he could help them to negotiate peace with some aliens. So definitely looking forward to checking that out. I love the fact that the idea predates Galaxy Quest, and also I think Peter Jurasik is pretty awesome on Babylon 5. So looking forward to checking that out. A couple of John Christopher's, The City of Gold and Lead and The Pool of Fire. So I love these Tripods books as a kid. I haven't read them in years. The problem is I've only got 2 of the 3, so now I have to find the White Mountains in this style. So I've set for myself quite a task. Bunch of tie-in stuff. Earth 2 by Melissa Crandall. This is the novelization of the pilot episode of Earth 2. Remember Earth 2? Used to come on after Sequest. And we'll get to Sequest. Then maybe I'll do a rewatch of Earth 2. Krull, the novelization by Alan Dean Foster. This book is so beat up that they gave it to me for free. It's a mess. It's not quite unreadable, and it smells a little basementy, but not as bad as it looks. But Krull. Got another Sequest novel, Fire Below. The only one I don't have now is the novelization of the pilot episode, which is written by Diane Duane. Warriors of Virtue. Have you ever seen Warriors of Virtue? Has anybody ever seen Warriors of Virtue? I know one guy. The novelization of Alien Nation, also, of course, by Alan Dean Foster. There's a really good podcast called the Authorized Novelizations Podcast, where they read novelizations and talk about them, and they hate Alan Dean Foster. Like, they started, the first book they read was like a Transformers book that he did, and they were immediately like, this guy is a hack, this is terrible. But what they didn't realize, and I really wish they had realized this up front, was that Alan Dean Foster did like all the novelizations. So I don't know, I feel like that's a problem for them that they're just going to have to overcome. But yeah, Alien Nation. I've seen some Alien Nation books based on the TV show. And I saw some, and I didn't buy them. I think I talked about this in the Rhode Island video, because I saw some there. And I didn't buy them, and I was like, jeez. But I found a couple at Federal Street. This is number 1 and number 3. Yeah, it's got a little sticker problem there. But yeah, usual suspects for this type of thing. Judith and Garfield Reeves-Stevens, Peter David, names that you see on all the tie-in novels. I think I talked in the Tales of the Bounty Hunters video about K.W. Jeter. He had written some Bounty Hunters books for the Star Wars series. This is his Blade Runner sequel book, The Edge of Human. Did Denis Villeneuve crib anything from this? I would really doubt it. I know there's a sequel to this book out there somewhere, so hopefully I can find that too. A couple of William Gibsons that were in really good shape, so I picked them up. Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive. I got to read these Sprawl books. I had read I DNF'd Neuromancer a long time ago. I just wasn't vibing with it at the time. I think I'm gonna read it again, and I think even if I'm not vibing with it, I'm gonna kind of power through, because I think there's a lot there, just from a historical point of view. It's like, watching Citizen Kane, even though you don't like it, because you know that everything that comes afterwards comes from this. Tri-Point by C.J. Cherry. I continue to collect C.J. Cherry's from the same series as Down Below Station, the Company Wars, whatever you want to call it. Is that everything? I think it's everything. It was a lot. So after lunch, we drove from Greenfield to North Adams, a leisurely country drive of less than an hour. Into the Berkshires. Yet another depressed old New England mill town that's found good uses for its outdated architecture. At the Artist Lofts at Eclipse Mills, we met Grover Askins, who lives in a paradise of books. Just stacks and stacks as far as the eye can see. Grover is living my dream. He had a used bookshop in upstate New York, but now he's here in North Adams, where you can visit him by appointment or by chance. I emailed him ahead of our visit and made an appointment, just in case. He said he didn't have much in the way of sci-fi, and he was right. Of all the stacks, he had maybe one or two 1-foot stacks of sci-fi. I still came away pretty happy with what I found, though. So we got I by Frank Herbert. This is a bunch of short stories. This was originally owned by Lauren Weinheimer. So thank you, Lauren Weinheimer. So the intro, this is pretty good because he talks about the making of David Lynch's Dune, and visiting the set and so forth. There's some artwork inside. It's pretty good. A decent book in readable shape. I'll give this a shot. Again, another short story compilation. Speaking of short story compilations, I also got Second Variety by Philip K. Dick. These, I didn't have this one, but I had a couple of these other short story compilations, and then I sold them. Except for, no, I kept The Short Happy Life of the Brown Oxford, but I sold the others, and I'm slowly getting them back. The only one I still have left to get, I think, is The Eye of the Sibyl. And then I'll have them all. So, very happy to get this back in my collection. I am quickly running out of space for these books. If you're enjoying this video, why not buy my book? Flight of the Pangolin is the story of an intrepid group of heroes who decide to exit the solar system over the objections of an isolationist faction. There's actually a lot more going on than that. There's space pirates, a giant spider for no reason, all kinds of other things. Buy it now online wherever you buy books or at our website, www.thepangolinrepublic.com. You can also get fun t-shirts and random other stuff if you want. There's one big draw to North Adams. One thing that put it and that keeps it on the map. The ultimate reuse of old mill buildings. You better believe I'm talking about the one and only Mass Mocha. The Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art is probably New England's best contemporary art museum, and truly in the running for best art museum, and maybe in the conversation for best museum overall. That's a tough one, though. New England has a lot of great museums. Lots to see and experience. On our visit, we saw exhibitions of the career of Saul LeWitt, Sarno, Jeffrey Gibson, and much more. Very cool stuff. You might think I didn't find any books in a contemporary art museum, but you'd be wrong. The R&D gift shop had tons of cool books, including some of those 33 1/3 books that I'm trying not to go down that rabbit hole right now. Did you know that there's a series of books chronicling David Bowie's career year by year? There's just too many great books out there. Not enough time. But the book I did get was A Few Rules for Predicting the Future by Octavia Butler. It's very short. It's almost like a kid's book in its layout, because it's just an essay put into a book. I haven't read any Octavia Butler yet, and it's something I've been meaning to do, and I was like, this is where I'm going to start. On the way home, we made one last stop. Kind of. So I'm a big fan of the Gray Matter Books location close to me in New Haven, well, closer to me. But we hadn't been to their Hadley, Mass location, so we had some time and it was more or less on the way home. So we figured, why not? Nestled in the depths of some kind of professional building along a scenic bike trail, Gray Matter's Hadley location has kind of a basement feel. Quiet but friendly staff with good music taste. Bigger than it looks. The New Haven location always seems to have something I'm looking for, and here in Hadley, they did pretty well too. The Dispossessed by Ursula Le Guin. This is a book that, after reading Left-Handed Darkness, I was like, The Dispossessed is probably going to be my next Le Guin. It's in readable condition. It's got so many stickers on it, though. It's got this sticker on the spine, unfortunately, and it's got this massive sticker on the back. So this is definitely not a collector's item, but it's definitely readable, and I'm looking forward to checking that out. Remember I was just talking about those Philip K. Dick short story collections? Get this one. We can remember it for you wholesale. This was one that I didn't own, and it's in fantastic shape. The spine is pristine. The corners are good. I'm assuming that's supposed to be a legally distinct Arnold Schwarzenegger, the story that inspired the hit motion picture Total Recall. Man Kids in Wars 7. I didn't even know they got to 7. I have the first couple. I got them at Bosco, and they were sitting on the free table, and I was just like, oh, thank you. So yeah, now I just got to get the ones in between. Metropolis. This is, the basis for the movie Metropolis that everyone hasn't seen, but they talk about all the time. I was really glad to get this edition. I've seen Metropolis around, but this is the edition that I wanted because it has the great cover art. The novelization of V, the miniseries. This was by A.C. Crispin, so she's always great. Yeah, author of Yesterday's Sun, the Star Trek book. A.C. Crispin, I don't think she's still with us, but God, she's such a reliable author in the tie-in world also, along with like Peter David and the Reeve Stevenses. The novelization of A Call to Arms, the Babylon 5 TV movie. Yeah, this is the one that sets up Crusade, I think. And that's just about it. The last thing that I can't say, and I'm not going to count it as a stop because we just kind of popped in there. And they didn't really have much of note. We stopped at the Goodwill next door in Northampton. And it was a Goodwill. They didn't really have much, but what they did have was a copy of Jurassic Park. This is the edition that I read when I was a kid, and I wanted it because, the version I have right now is like the movie tie-in version, and that's always kind of lame. So So I wanted to get, the original edition of it. Probably do a reread at some point, because it's been a while. So that's it. That's our trip to Western Mass. Hope you enjoyed this video and the ensuing book haul. Yeah, if you like these kind of videos, subscribe to the channel. We do all kinds of book reports and little bits like this with my adventures. There's a Patreon. If you go to pangolinrepublic.com, you can sign up for our newsletter. All kinds of things. There's all kinds of things. We're on Instagram. We're on the Facebook. We have dogs. So this is Chewy. Chewy. Yes. And this is Max. So that's all for now. We'll see you next time. Bye.